In this lesson, we're going to learn how to configure FabricPath between two Nexus 7000 series switches. In this case, it's actually the same switch. I'm just using two VDCs. One VDC named DC1 core, and the other VDC named DC2 core. There are certain steps we need to follow in order to configure FabricPath on a Nexus 7000. This procedure goes as follows. We need to go into our configure terminal, just like we do whenever we make any type of change to the device. The second thing we need to do is install the appropriate feature set. In this case, FabricPath is actually a feature set and not just a feature. There is certain functionality in the Nexus 7000 that is installed as a feature set, and this is one of them. We also have to have this feature set installed in the admin VDC in order to use it in other VDCs. Once we do that, we can actually switch to the VDC in question, go into configuration mode, and actually install the feature set FabricPath in that particular VDC. So when we do that in the admin console, we're giving the capability to all of the other potential VDCs, and then we go into that individual VDC, and whether we turn on that feature set or not is up to the administrator. Once that feature set is turned on, we can go ahead and configure our FabricPath VLANs. VLANs that are used in FabricPath are different than classical Ethernet VLANs. We actually have to go into the VLAN and turn on mode FabricPath to tell the switch that this is a FabricPath VLAN. We then go to the interfaces that are going to take part in the FabricPath topology, and we change those interfaces to switchport mode FabricPath. And this turns on FabricPath on those interfaces and allows those VLANs to traverse those links. Let's go to the switch. Here we are in my DC1 core VDC. I have already installed FabricPath feature set in the admin VDC. So I'm going to go ahead and switch to my configure terminal so that I can install or turn on the feature set in this particular VDC. I go to feature set, and then if I do a question mark here, I can see that there's two different feature sets for the Nexus 7000 that require the feature set command. The first one is FEX capability, and the second one is FabricPath. I'm going to turn on FabricPath. I'm now giving the switch the capability to maintain and operate the FabricPath feature set. Once that is complete, I can start creating FabricPath VLANs. In this case, I'm going to create VLAN 100. And in VLAN 100, I'm going to change the mode of that VLAN to mode FabricPath. Now, if I was to do a show VLAN command, whoops, I almost forgot one thing. A lot of times you have to exit out of the VLAN database before the changes take effect. So I'll exit out, and then I'll do a show VLAN, and I will see that I have a number of VLANs configured on this device. I will also see that when I take a look at the VLAN and the type and the VLAN mode, I see there are quite a few VLANs that are running in CE mode or classical Ethernet mode, and this VLAN in particular, VLAN 100, is running in FabricPath mode. So I know that my changes took effect. The next thing I need to do is go to the particular interfaces that I want to use to run FabricPath on. In this case, it's interface E5/1-2. And before I turn this on, I want to make sure that I'm using a specific type of interface. And if you remember from our previous lessons, these interfaces can't be M1 interfaces. They have to be F1, F2, or F3 interfaces. So let's quickly do a show module. And when we do that, we can see that interface 5/1 or module 5 is an F1 series 32 port card. And you can also see that module 6 is an M1 series card. So I couldn't use Module 6 interfaces to run FabricPath on. But that's okay, because I'm actually using my interface 5/1 and 2, which we now know are F-card interfaces and will support FabricPath. Now that I'm in my interface range mode, and if I want to double check where I am, I can type the where command. I can see that I'm under interface Ethernet 5/1 through 2. I want to go ahead and change this interface to switch port mode FabricPath. And that's it. That's really all you need to do. Now this switch is running FabricPath. What I would want to do is go to my second VDC, which I already have configured here, and do the same exact steps and configure the FabricPath VLAN and configure the links, in this case 7.1 and 7.2, to switch port mode FabricPath. Once I've done that, FabricPath is up and running. And I can double check that, for instance, by going Show FabricPath Switch ID. If you remember from our lesson, switch IDs can be automatically generated or manually assigned. In this case, my switch IDs are automatically generated. And I can see that I'm on switch 2205 because it has the star next to it. If I want to change the switch ID and manually assign that, I can type FabricPath switch ID 100. Now, if I was to show FabricPath switch ID, I'll see that I'm on FabricPath switch ID 100, and that switch ID has been changed. You can see that FabricPath is a very powerful feature, and it's very easy to configure and use inside of your data center.